Cameras these days are confusing. See, we used to have photo cameras with photo lenses to shoot photos, and we had video cameras with video lenses to shoot videos. But because we now use photo cameras to shoot those videos, it means that we're also using photo lenses to shoot videos. In the next 10 minutes or so, I'm going to explain the difference between photo lenses and cinema lenses or video lenses, and hopefully help you decide which of these is best for your next project. Or even just understand, like when someone talks about Cine lenses, you will now know what they mean. Today, I'm also gonna show off a little bit my new set of NISI Athena lenses. I got a 25, 35, 50, and 85 of the Athenas. When I get to kind of the cons section on Cine lenses, you'll see that these don't have as many cons as most Cine lenses do. Okay, the very first thing that we're gonna talk about is manual focus. And almost all Cine lenses are going to not only be manual focus, but mechanical focus. So what that means is that on here, my focus ring has hard stops at both ends, and it has those distances right on the lens. So you can see on here that I can go from 0.3 of a meter, and I could rack my focus out and go to something that is at 1 meter. Those are actually hard set stops, set distances on my lens. So if my camera's sitting here, I measure 1 meter away, I could set this to right there, and that thing will be in focus. And photo lenses usually do not share that. Usually on photo lenses, it is focus by wire. So you can see I can take this focus ring, I can spin it around 100 times, it doesn't matter. When I turn my camera into manual focus mode, now I can start to use this as manual focus. But again, it's like, it's all computerized in there. You're really letting the computer, the camera, do a lot of the work and set those distances. And it's very tricky to manual focus on photo lenses because of that. Now, to be fair, the autofocus system on cameras these days is bananas. The A7S III, the A7 IV, some of the new ones with the AI chips built in that can like see the body of a person and track them. They are incredibly, incredibly good, but you're still letting the camera do a lot of work. And I always say this on the channel, camera is stupid. If you have the option, if you have the ability, you should be in manual shutter, manual aperture, manual ISO, manual white balance, and manual focusing with caveats. There's plenty of caveats to that, but in theory, if you could be full manual, then it's up to you. Like you are in full control. If the camera makes some weird jump in white balance, it's so hard to recover in post if you're in video. Again, if you're in photo, like most of these things that we're talking about do not apply, because in photo, if something like focusing, like if it's focusing and it breathes a little bit, no big deal. Before you hit the shutter, you lock in that focus, you get the shot. In video, if you see focus breathing, if it misses focus, if the focus jumps around, shot ruined. Like if you were trying to focus on one person, someone else like walked in frame, autofocus grabbed him for a second, and then it jumped back to that person, that's a lost shot in video. In photo, again, no big deal. Yeah, shoot 1,000 shots, find the best one. But for video especially, your camera is stupid, and that's why manual focus is so important. And very related to the manual focusing is both on the aperture ring and the focus ring, you have gears usually built in. Almost, I don't know that I've ever seen a Cine lens that doesn't have the gears built in. Maybe there's one out there, leave it in the comments. But most Cine lenses are going to have gears built in so that you can hook in a focusing system, maybe even a wireless focus system. Maybe you're on a gimbal, you've got the camera, and somebody else has a monitor off camera from you with a wireless system, and they are actually pulling your focus for you. All sorts of things can be done like that because you have these gears built in, and a focusing system can just lock right into them. Now you can do that on photo cameras, and usually it's like a big plastic ring that wraps around your camera, like almost zip ties to it, and it gives you this gearing. This gearing from Cine lenses can be put on photo lenses. Again, though, it's just fly-by-wire, so it's just so different. If you've manually focused with a photo lens and you've manually focused with a Cine lens, back me up in the comments. Like put in the comments, be like, oh, it is really as different as he says. Okay, next up is zoom. You will rarely find, again, there's plenty of exceptions, but you will rarely find cinema lenses or cine lenses that are zoom. If you do, they're like wildly expensive. Most cine lenses are going to be a fixed focal range or prime lenses. So this is a 25, a 35, a 50, and an 85. So if you have a shot and you're trying to get like a big wide establishing shot, we throw on the 25, but now you want to jump to that medium shot, we are going to actually switch lenses to the 50. Whereas if you are, you've got, where is it at? You've got like a 24-70 on a Sony camera, you could just say wide establishing at 24 and then I zoom that much. Now I'm at 35, I zoom a little more, now I'm at 50. You have that whole range built into this lens, but there's some big drawbacks to zoom lenses. One is that because you have multiple focal lengths, you have more elements in there. So there's more elements for the light to pass through, and that can result in something that we're gonna get to in the next little bit that I'm talking about. But because there's more elements, it's more complicated. There's also warp or distortion on zoom lenses. Usually there's some distortion. This is the 24-70 Mark I, the G Master from Sony. And I can tell you at 24 millimeters, this thing is a little warpy. My 16 to 35, it's on that lens. Same thing at 16 millimeters, you're gonna see horizontal lines bend. You're gonna see vertical lines start to bow a little bit. And then as I move into 24 and 35 with that same zoom lens, those clean up a little bit. Prime lenses on video and on photo are almost always corrected for distortion. And it's really easy because if you're just making like a 24 millimeter lens on a photo lens, you can just say, hey, we're setting this whole thing up for 24 millimeters. 24 millimeters is going to look perfect. When you're making something like this that has to go from 24 out to 70, there's just no way. You can't optimize for all of those focal ranges. So you sort of do your best and, deal with the consequences or the compromise. It's a compromise. Zoom lenses are almost always a compromise. They're also usually heavier. Very much heavier usually are the zoom lenses over their prime counterparts. Okay, the next big difference between cine lenses and photo lenses is t-stops versus f-stops. On all photo lenses, you're gonna know f-stop. So if I look on the aperture ring here, it is the ratio of the focal length to the size of the opening that's in the lens. That's what the measurement is of, which you would think would mean that would be the same across all lenses, but how much light actually gets through that opening is different on all the different lenses because of things like zooms. There's so many more glass elements that the light is going through. So even though the size opening is the same on this lens at f2.8 than this lens at f2.8, this is an 85 millimeter, this lens will most likely transfer or transmit slightly more light through this lens to your sensor than this lens. So if I have this on there at 2.8 and then I switch to my zoom lens, the chance that I'm gonna have slightly less light and have to compensate some other way, it's there. Now, again, Sony, these high-end lenses, they are doing their damnedest to make sure that they are like on point and really, really well matched up. But in the photo world, it doesn't make that much of a difference because I'm bringing all those photos into post anyways. If when I have my 50 on versus when I have my 35 on, they're slightly different, I can just rip those in post, no big deal. But on video lenses, on video sets, they're trying to be more precise with how much light actually gets to the lens, which is the measurement of a t-stop. A t-stop on this thing, if I am at T4 on this lens is the exact same amount of light that's actually being transmitted through the lens to my sensor as if I was on T4 on this lens. So t-stops do not measure just the opening of the hole or the opening ratio. It's a whole mathematical thing with f-stops. This is measuring how much light is being transmitted to the sensor. So no matter which of these lenses I switch to, even if it's a different brand, if they're all properly measured, no matter what, I will always have the same amount of light going through. I'll always have the same exposure on my image if I switch lenses, but I keep the same t-stop. Okay, next big difference is build quality. Photo lenses are trying to be as lightweight as possible. Everything on them, you're trying to optimize for image quality, yes, but then weight. Like you're trying to make these as lightweight as possible because usually photographers have multiple lenses in a bag or a backpack, whatever that might be. Photographers running around with multiple lenses, we're trying to make these as lightweight as possible. All of the Sony G Master lenses, the version 2 that comes out, they always say lighter and smaller. On Cine lenses, because I think they just know, like, you're gonna be locked off more often than not. You're gonna be on a tripod or on some sort of system more often than not. You're gonna have more of like a box next to you where all your lenses are, unless you're shooting like weddings, which in that case, boy, carrying around a bunch of cinema lenses probably isn't the way to go, but cinema lenses are definitely heavier, more robust. They're like made out of metal. Like this just feels like a tank. Like this is a 35 and this is a 30. The difference, like this feels quality, but like, it's not that it feels hollow, but it just feels like lighter weight, where this just feels dense and heavy. This is just like a piece of glass where inside here, there's motors and there's a bunch of electronics. This is all very mechanical. This is a hunk of glass, metal, and that's it. So again, in general, photo lenses are trying to be small and lightweight. Cine lenses usually just, they don't even care. They go, hey, we are going for a certain quality, a certain image, a certain style. I don't care how big and how heavy the thing is gonna be. Which kind of brings me to this Athena set. I'll explain why I went for this as my set and why I'm so dang stoked. One is the size and lightweight nature of these, but a big reason for why this one in particular, can you tell? They are all the exact same length and almost the exact same weight. Let me sort these out. Hold on. Okay, the 25 is 900 grams, the 35 is 897 grams, the 50 is 891 grams, and the 85 is 896 grams. The exact same length and within 10 grams of each other. So if you are going to do a lot of run and gun stuff, if you are going to put your camera on a gimbal, if you mount this 85 millimeter, you balance the gimbal out perfectly for your 85, you can pop this thing off and pop on a 24 without ever rebalancing your gimbal. Switch to the 35, switch to the 50. Within 10 grams, your gimbal is gonna be fine. The length is the same, so the balance point, the weight shift is the exact same. These are incredibly gimbal-friendly lenses because of that. 4 lenses, exact same length, almost the same weight. And for a 5 lens kit, I got the 4 lens kit, but for a 5 lens kit of the NISIs, we're under $6,000. I think it comes out to about $1,200 per lens for these. Okay, the last thing on the NISIs before we go is a rear drop-in filter system. So I can do NDs, circular polarizers, mist filters, anything like that, instead of having to mount it up front, which you can mount. You've got a 77 millimeter filter ring up front, but instead of having to do that at all, I can just have drop-in filters that actually load into the lens itself, and you don't have to put them on the front. I saw it and I was like, that is super trick. I want that. So I got it. I haven't ordered the filters yet though, but I will very soon. Okay, so I hope that this helps you understand the difference between photo lenses with computers and wires and focusing motors in them. Oh, by the way, none of these have like IBIS or any sort of stabilization. Those do. These are very computerized, motorized lenses, and these are very mechanical, glass, metal, simple, and beautiful lenses. And we could go way more technical on this video, the differences between the two, but in general, just to kind of briefly explain the difference between the two, that's it. And yeah, just a hunk of glass and metal. And these NISIs, man, they are freaking dope. If you guys want to see an entire video like just on these lenses, or an entire video shot with just these lenses, let me know down in the comments, and maybe I will make that after I've used them for like a while. All right, let me know if that helps down in the comments. Any other questions you have down there as well, and I will see you soon. Did you watch to the end again? A bunch of you watched the end on the last one. Did you watch to the end on this one? If so, comment peanut butter Skittles down below. That's how I'll know if you actually watched to the end. Peanut butter Skittles in the comments.